Bring a Trailer podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bring a Trailer podcast. Alex here, joined at Bring a Trailer headquarters by Randy and Beck. Hey, gentlemen, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Randy?
I'm doing great. You just called him Randy, I think,
did.
but I'm doing fantastic. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Are we doing a year game or what are we doing today?
We are. We're going to do 1 year game. We're going to do 2006. This is the kind of well, I guess we have the teens to go to, but we've done now 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. We're doing 2000s. As we've discussed on other pods, top year models for 2024 in terms of number of cars we listed were 2000. I think 2008 was the number 1 year, but it's 04, 05, 06, 07, and 08 were the 5 top model years for auctions in 2024. So we went right down the middle, and that's what we're doing. And as we were talking about yesterday, Beck, this is a little bit of a transition period. This is a little bit of a maybe of an era between two. You were asking, what was you want to frame your term?
My term for,
Is it
the 60s of our generation?
What? Tell me about that.
It being a highlight reel of sort of what people look back towards as being the peak for what we long for.
You used peak analog, which is
peak
like
analog.
Maybe too annoying to say out loud. But
That's
there
very
I did
true.
it.
There's
I
that one
don't think
too.
that's annoying to say out loud. I think that's kind of true, right? I mean, yeah, you were talking about screens came up and more electronic systems and different things were happening mid-aughts.
When was iDrive?
iDrive was 02 7 Series that came out. So, but nobody else believed it. It was like BAT early auctions. Everybody said, this will fail. You can't do
Yes.
this. And iDrive ran until this year. They just had the press release that they killed iDrive finally this year. And everybody, all the Benzes had knobs in them for 15 years and whatever else. So 2002 was a little too early. It scared everybody. But by 06, I think the competition had it too.
Totally. But it's still almost like doing the research, almost all normally aspirated engines. Like turbos are weird still, kind of.
They're
in
unique.
06.
They're special.
Yeah.
They were
No.
still going displacement, right?
Yes.
Like the M3 was about to get a V8, which was NA,
Right.
right? Before later on, then they
Correct.
started going to smaller displacement.
Yep.
turbo.
And we're on the verge of that huge Mercedes V8 that's in everything, the 6.3, that's getting bigger, 5.5 to 6.2 or whatever it is. The other thing that struck me is, so I want to ask where you guys all were. You're we're all in the same age bracket, but it struck me, all these cars feel modern to me, but this is almost 20 years ago now.
That is feeling kind of shocking. I'm approaching my 20-year, I guess you could say, anniversary for college. So that's where I was. I was flying at U of I, and I was driving E30 Cabrio, which was a silly car for cold Midwest winters, driving to the airport every day. Not appropriate. I eventually traded with my sister for her Buick so I could drive
Traded
that.
to a Buick.
I did,
Beck.
yes. I know.
You were getting all the ladies.
There was, you could fit 6 people in the Buick. So it was definitely more than just what the E30 could do.
What year college were you?
That would have been a junior.
Okay.
I graduated in
So you're like
07.
21. Was this the year you turned
That
21?
was the year I turned 21.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
So good mix.
21-year-old Beck.
I know.
06.
I
I
know.
love it.
It's great.
I love all that.
Were you in twin engines by then?
Yeah, I would have been getting my multi-cert in a Piper Seminole. And I would have been also at the same time working on getting my commercial license,
Amazing.
which I did in Aero.
Fantastic. And were you ever an instructor? I don't know if I've
I
ever asked you
started
that.
my CFI my senior year and very quickly realized that this was not for me. This is when I ended up going into photography instead.
Yeah.
So CFI was not required for graduation. So I backed out of that and started leaning into, I was done with school. I was ready to move on. So there was no way I was going to stick around for like another major or something. So shifted as much as I could.
I love it. And this is your first 1 year garage.
This is my first one here. Correction, I've played along
Okay.
from the comfort of my car on my commute into the
Well, now you
office
get to
every
be
day.
judged by the Instagram
Correct.
community. So
Which one did you scream and yell, why isn't this chosen, as you were driving on the highway?
But there's a lot of like pauses, right?
No, but which one? There has to be one that sticks out and you're like, how could you not have chosen?
Was an important one. I don't think anyone picked the 3-liter Carrera.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
that was
Beck,
a little-
but with Beck, it's going to be a Porsche. I should have known it. I should have known it.
Well, I think the order that we do this in is going to be important because I have some fear of Randy, but a tremendous amount of fear of Beck.
Because you guys are going to fight over Porsches. I want 0 Porsches. I'll call that right now. I want 0 2006 Porsches. You can have all of them.
I'm excited to be judged by you when we
I've got a
select them.
Porsche adjacent story, but I'm not. I don't even think I want Volkswagens either. I think
I've got a good Volkswagen.
Ooh.
But before we do that, well, that's actually a good segue, Randy. What was your age? What were you doing? This is the year before Bring a Trailer was founded,
Oh, my
2006.
goodness. That means, the dark ages, pre-VAT. This is the Craigslist era.
Yeah.
06, I was working for BMW in North America. I had some cool company cars that I was driving. Those may inform some of my choices today. 06 was a good year. BMW was on top of the world. Some of the Bengal turbulence had subsided a little bit. Swan song of an awesome M3 that maybe the three of us are going to fight over in 06, because that's just an unbelievable car.
Pre-Bengal.
M was kind of the car to have, right? Performance wise in the US, right? Like Audis were pretty cool and the RS4 was out and stuff. But man, it was a great era to be a BMW. We were selling a lot of cars. Everybody was psyched. I got my hands on some very cool pre-production models and stuff to drive around, and I was pumped. You said, how old was I in 06? 29.
29.
I turned 29 that year.
Married
a couple years.
No kid yet, though.
No kids yet.
No kid
Married, no kids, living in San Francisco, driving a BMW company car and surfing the internet for cars, but there was no such thing as BAT.
Yeah.
Mid-aughts BMWs, just so many highlights.
It's so good.
Every single one of them.
I have a lot on my list. There is going to be some tension there. Do you want to drop your story or you want to wait till we get into it?
Which story? I got
your
all kinds
Porsche
of stories.
Adjacent story.
Oh, no. I mean, that comes to what car are we picking for a particular category.
Yeah, okay. When
we get to that, that would be my choice, but it's not a legitimate choice. So we can just veer off of it.
Okay. I'll do a little log rolling. I was 20. I was also learning how to fly, Beck. I was so for part of 06, the end of, or maybe it was right at the beginning of 07, I moved to Arizona to go to Embry-Riddle to learn how to fly. I was only there for 6 months and do not have all the credentials you do. I think I've only got like 78 hours or 77 hours. But I was 23, turned 23 that year, and I was driving. My daily driver was the green car that's downstairs, but I didn't want to take it to Arizona, so I took my dad's Civic SI, his 99 or 2000 Civic SI. So that's what I had there most of the time. I also had my Carnegie out there, which I later sold on the site. It broke down. I had to go back to Prescott to tow it home after I finished at Embry-Riddle. So anyway, it was a time where I was thinking a lot about cars, but just had the same two old cars that I'd had forever, the Carnegie and the Porsche.
This is pre-fat motor in the 912?
Oh, yeah. Dude,
way pre.
This is still the Bosch injection on it. Rough.
Really registered in Arizona so you don't have to pass smog, or?
No, I didn't register anything in Arizona. It still passed smog back then. Statute of limitations is over, but we would pull. So I put the air pump on when it was time to smog it. And my boss rigged at the shop I worked at, the little thing that sucks out of there, the EGR or whatever, the little thing that sucks the exhaust out, so that when they would put their finger on it to test it, it would have suction, even though it wasn't really pulling any exhaust gases. So it was like a whole elaborate, it was all in a cardboard box, all the stuff I'd put on to
what a charade.
Smog.
What a charade all of that was.
Maybe some people still do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just have had it registered in Lake County forever where I don't have to smog it.
You kind of cringe, but you kind of respect that sort of resourcefulness.
Well, I was like a young grease monkey, so I was willing to do it.
911 or 912 on
That's
the
like
road.
the 912 version of the F duct, the Ferrari one.
Totally.
Drivers were just putting their hands up against the side of the wall.
Yeah. I think I'd given up racing by then. Maybe we still owned our race car, but I wasn't doing it anymore. I was driving the 912 on, you asked about the induction, I would drive it at PCA events every once in a while, and it would after one lap, the temperature would be all the way in the red. And I remember being on Buttonwillow, and you'd only gain 10 miles an hour down the front straight. From if you came hauling ass onto the front straight, you'd only get about 10 miles an hour. By the end. But I put slicks on it at one point on some borrowed deep sixes. Oh man, some memories are coming back. We would do everything we could to cool it down. We'd take the engine deck lid off, and it still was burning hot. Anyway, great stuff.
912E race team. There it is.
Hashtag set.
Hashtag rip the engine lid off.
Nothing worked. Nothing worked.
Hashtag desperation.
Totally.
Plug the engine.
I love it.
Totally. Okay, so we've kind of been neglectful on this, but I want to give some highlights for 2006. The 2007 Oscars, so the movies that won Oscars in 2000, there were 2006 movies that won at the beginning of 2007.
Ooh, what was it?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good year. So Departed was the big one that year. That was Scorsese finally getting his recognition. Best Picture, Best Director. Helen Mirren for The Queen. And Forrest Whitaker for Last King of Scotland. So really good year. Part of the reason I did 07 for 06 is the 06 Oscars for 05 movies is the infamous Crash year when Crash won. And now everyone's like, that's the worst Oscar winner ever. So better if you think about the movies that came out in 06. Box office, very different though. Biggest movie of the year, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, there you go.
The first
Yeah,
one
I
or
saw
like
that.
one of the
Second
ones?
sequel.
Yeah.
And then Cars was number 2. So that's kind of interesting.
Cars
and
came out
relevant.
in 06.
06.
Okay,
Amazing.
that's a meaningful moment.
My dad liked Pirates of the Caribbean because he got like his money's worth. He thought like it's just a long.
Was it long?
They're
It's
so
incredibly
long.
long,
They're so long.
and he just thought like, why wouldn't I go
Such
see
an
that?
architect.
Something
He
else.
should have calculated.
Totally.
Did he love Titanic? Like, what?
Sure.
Right?
If
That's like the longest movie of all time, isn't it?
Oh, man. He like couldn't wait for Killers of the Flower Moon. Speaking of Scorsese.
There you go.
Number 3 at the box office was X-Men Last Stand, which I have no recollection
Sure,
of.
that's the third one.
Yeah. Mini sequels down the.
It's in
down
San Francisco. It takes place in the city. They actually grab the Golden Gate Bridge and they break it
Magneto.
off.
Yes,
and use
okay.
it so it goes to
Nice.
Alcatraz.
I probably
Nice.
saw all these in the theater. I was probably going to the theater a lot. I didn't have a lot going on in 06, so I probably saw all those, but they've slipped my mind. So we talked about peak analog. We talked about where were you. Highlights on the site. So we've had 4,366 listings from 2006. We have 12 live right now. Again, it's one of our big years, and especially was big in 2024. I don't know if you guys were combing through the results, but just the 2024 results from 2006 is
Correct.
so many pages.
I'm still going. I've been scrolling
You're
this
still- are you
entire
still in
time.
2024?
I'm still in 2024.
And you see the
There's
cycle of
a
the same
lot.
few cars that like clearly
Totally.
they are heavy hitters.
Yep, that's right. And I'm sure they're all on all of our lists too. Cool. Well, I say we dive in and start doing some picking. Unless you have any objections, Randy. So I've got to figure out a better system for picking who goes first because it's meaningful, the order.
I don't care. I'll go third. I'm picking different things than you guys.
Okay, let's let Beck go first because he's first timer. I have a feeling looking at his eyes that he's going to destroy me. I lose these every single time because I follow my heart, guys. Oh, quick refresher for folks who have not listened to one of these episodes before. The idea here is we're going to pick 5 cars. Each of us are going to pick 5 cars from 2006 to fill out a hypothetical dream garage. So the 5 categories that we all have to pick from are sports car, daily driver, family hauler, truck 4x4, and a wild card. There can't be overlapping. So if somebody picks a certain make and model, that one's gone. It's off the board. So that's why order matters. I tend to use Bring a Trailer to look for everything because it's just such an easy way to do it. But it doesn't have to be something from Bring a Trailer necessarily. And once, Beck, you pick the first category, we'll all do the same category. And then I'll keep track of it all and I'll read back everybody's picks at the end. We're going to throw it up for people to tell us why we're great or more likely why we're terrible. And looking forward to it.
So I kind of expected you were going to ask me to go first just because it was my first time. And it definitely feels like a lot more stress because you have to get it right? You can't miss the obvious one as much. Whereas if you're down the order, you can claim,
Your bad choices have an excuse.
Correct. I also had all of those on my list, but I get to pick now my 4th option when in fact it might have been your first to begin with. Well, I have them sort of in an order before me. I'm just going to jump in.
Category
Let's
are we gonna
start with
with?
sports car.
Sports cars. Okay, great. That's where I always start. I start there every time. What are you looking for, Randy?
Maybe a pen and paper. I need to do some tactical tactical
Here,
note.
I'll get you one while Beck is talking
No,
about his
it's
first
all
one.
good. We'll figure it out. All right, Beck, go.
All right, sports car. You kind of called me out on it earlier. It's going to be the final year of the Carrera GT.
God damn it. That was
Has to be the sports car. It's up. There's a lot of great options. There's a lot of small cars, a lot of big muscle cars as well, but the Carrera GT just has to be the one. We actually have never listed an 06. Interestingly, there's a bunch.
That's weird.
I had to look up whether they still made
I
it.
agree.
Yeah.
I also had to look it up, but we haven't. My tactic for a lot of these was to go to the results page, search 2006, and then choose the different categories and then start scrolling, right?
Never reveal your
Tactic. Another tactic is,
I'm not telling you mine.
order them in
Nobody's
how
asking
popular
me
they
mine.
are.
It's to Randy's tactic is to look them up while we're recording.
Totally. I haven't decided my sports car yet, but I will let you know. I'm getting closer. Anyway, keep going. CGT is way smarter than what I'm going to choose.
Very good. It's very good. You may have just won.
Yep, CGT is a great strong one. Hard to go wrong with that one. Surprising that we haven't had one, but then again, like we had this big flurry of them listed a couple of years ago, and they come sort of less frequently now. But I saw a prototype of one of those at Rensport, this last one.
Oh wow!
In 23, it was super interesting. It had a different steering wheel, different gauge cluster.
Still a V10?
Still a V10.
Because it was a race car first, wasn't it?
Not the engine comes from a failed race car program, but the car was a way to salvage the engine and continue
And the
production some way.
thing too, because it's kind of put together like a race car.
It's
The
kind of put
engine's
together
mounted
by
in the back of a tub, isn't it?
It is, but it's really just the block.
Okay.
That's a carryover. But the interior was totally different. It was parked by the pits. I want to say Seinfeld had owned it at some point or something like
Did
that.
it still have the high shifter way up on that?
It did not have the
Oh.
ball shifter. Different shift. It looked like a normal, I guess you'd call it a 997 shift handle on it.
But down on the, not the one that's way up high. On
No,
the
I've
console.
seen that car. Where did that car turn up? We didn't list that car.
Is it
didn't
museum
list
car?
There's like one. I don't think it's museum. I think it's privately owned, but it has some weird features. And if you
That's very
full
odd, yeah.
full CGT geek out, you know like what's
Oh,
all the
interesting.
different things, and the panels are different.
It's
The
a
rims
digital,
are different.
I
or
want to say the
something.
digital LCD screen is, or no, like a
Stuff is
primitive
different.
screen as opposed
Yeah,
to it's
okay.
not the typical Porsche dials. It just you're one of those where from a distance it looks like the right thing, and then you get closer and closer, and you're like, what is this weird thing?
Yeah.
It's not really one, but I believe it's a pre-production one that's been going around. But yeah, CGT for a sports car.
Great choice. Love it. You stole it from me. Randy's going to do all BMW. Beck's going to do all Porsche. It's possible.
Yeah, Beck's do it all Porsche.
Because there are Porsche trucks at this
Yeah.
point and Porsche family haulers.
in quotes.
Depending on your
in quotes.
truck. That is,
Both of those are in quotes.
if you leave the rear hatch open, I guess it's a
if
truck.
you believe a truck is a unibody car that's like tall, what's the spec for you? So I think Seinfeld also had that blue. There's a blue one. I just saw a picture of it the other day. That's a really good.
Blue
color.
would be great. Arena red
Oh yeah.
is a great. We've had an arena red.
Yeah.
I don't know what was specifically available in
I
06.
think there's speed yellow too, isn't there?
There should be speed yellow
Yeah.
as well, but yeah, I would actually go for a red. I'm a big blue, but
Not silver though. You're with me. Too many silvers.
I can't have more grayscale in my life.
Yeah.
Every car that I have is grayscale right now, and it's just making me sad.
It's
every day.
problematic.
It is.
Agreed. Good choice, Randy. Are you ready?
I'm mostly
It's the first
ready.
time I've seen you use paper.
I need a super quick refresher on categories B and C. I've got A, D, and E. I've got sports car, truck, 4x4, and wild card. What are the other two?
Family hauler
Okay.
and daily driver.
Okay.
But there's like a lot of crossover here. There's a lot of potential. 06, I noticed in particular, there's a lot of potential to move these around a little bit. We don't want to commit category fraud, but there's like a chance to.
Well, and also like sports cars become so drivable.
Totally.
Right. If we're talking 77, like we said before, that's a very separate
Yeah.
category. But now you're in a time where it's quite comfortable.
This gets back to the what is a sports car conversation.
100%.
Remember that? Are we going to debate the Mercedes Pagoda again on whether that's
I'm,
a
like,
sports car?
Still bitter about that.
Oh, my
Like,
goodness.
here's a question: is an M3 a sports car? Is a E46
Yes.
M3 a sports car?
Yes.
Is it a family hauler?
Yes. Could be if you're creative. I appreciate that.
I think that's
I appreciate
tougher.
creativity.
I think it's a tougher pitch to call that a family hauler than a sports car, personally.
It would also, though, play pretty well into daily driver.
Because there's an E46 WAG and sedan that year. You just can't have an M3.
E46 M3 can be 4 out of 5 categories. It just can't be a truck 4x4, no matter how much you argue.
I don't know. Safari builds are big
I'm not
these days.
letting that be a truck 4x4.
All right,
Okay.
Randy, you're up. Sports car.
Sports car 4GT.
Ah, God damn.
Non-heritage. I've never liked the heritage colors on 0506. To Beck's point, it goes way beyond grayscale. I have no interest in an anthracite colored one. Right?
How about anthracite with titanium stripes?
all
Gray.
the titanium,
All gray.
titanium
Which
wheels on
version of
titanium
gray?
paint, on titanium interior, on
Tungsten? Is
titanium
something tungsten
seat
color?
inserts, like 12 shades of titanium. No, boring. They have awesome colors. I like it. People complain about stripes or stripe delete or all this noise. I actually think the stripes are awesome. I just think of the Jeff Zwart Super Bowl commercial of Ford roaring back and drifting that around Thunder Hill in the winter with all the green grass everywhere. That's a killer commercial and a killer car. And that's a red, white striped car, which I would gladly take. I would also take a white car because nobody likes it. And I'm contrarian. I want the low spec wheels on a white car parked outside and
White,
like
blue stripes.
curb parked.
White,
Yes.
blue, no options.
White, blue. Yeah, no wheel option.
No
But the
Macintosh.
nice. I'll take Macintosh.
Okay.
I'll take Macintosh. What are the 3 or 4 goofy options? Who knows? Who cares? Just
Painted calipers. That was one.
Painted calipers.
Yeah,
is
those
one
are
of
kind
them.
of lame. I don't,
Yeah.
That's a
Don't need that.
993 wannabe.
I also like the base quote unquote wheels better myself.
I don't know if I like them better, but I do like them. They got thrown under the bus for years. Anyway, 4GT. Controversial take. Sorry, Beck. I would take a 4GT way before a CGT.
Interesting.
I have no interest in a CGT. I think they're flashy. I think they're like, look at me, like flashy Porsche, you know.
I'll take both over an Enzo. That's the only thing I know. So.
But I think a 4GT is kind of flashy too, obviously, but maybe just in a different way, different price bracket.
I like both. Those were my number 1 and 2 choices for this model year. Those are the best two. Those are the best two cars. Those are the best two cars.
Incredible. What was Ferrari building in that year to try to even compete?
Well,
with those?
it's going to be my sports car is what I'm going to take for Ferrari. That's mine right now. So I'll just do it. I'm going to take F430 6-speed.
Okay.
So still a gated manual transmission. 612 Scaglietti is hard no for me. That's like maybe my least
612. If you had gone 612, I'd be like family hauler.
No, I can't. Even if you let me do that, I wouldn't take it. They look like a salamander. They're like no good.
Yikes. Those are kind of rough.
F430 coupe for sure. Bright color for sure. Although I was looking at our results, we had a black F430 6-speed coupe, and that's pretty slick. Pretty awesome car. Probably the last Ferrari I really aesthetically like. I don't think there's
when 360 was out and then that was announced. How did you feel? I didn't feel like it was progress though. I was upset.
I like a 360 better. I think 360 is better looking, and I think 355 is better looking than a 360. So
also controversial.
Yeah, my only problem with the 430 are I like the Enzo taillights. I don't like the big like oblong shaped inlets on the front. That's the thing that my eye is always drawn to that I don't like. But in profile, they still look like a 360. They're really good. And the thing I remember, because I was an avid magazine reader at the time, is they seemed like such a bump in power. Like there's so much more power than a 360. And then the one that killed 458 made another huge jump in power. Now they're all turbocharged. And
so
crazy.
Sorry, what's your dream spec? Is what colors? And obviously manual trans, coupe.
Coupe has to be manual, gated 6-speed. I think this is second to last year of manuals in Ferraris.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, no manual.
Right at the end. Right at the end. Most of the 430s we've listed and that exist are paddles. So
black's solid.
I think black is what I would do. I'm normally not a black car guy, but looking at this one, black red would be so good. It's that maroon color, just as long as it's not silver. That's the main thing. No silver. And probably not red.
The bright blue that they did.
The blues got less good at that time.
Okay.
All right.
F430 was my 4th on my list. I made a lot of
we'll do honorable mentions at the end. Don't give anything else away, because unless it has no chance of going, but daily driver, you can daily drive a sports car. Okay, killer. Beck, we're coming around the horn. You get to choose the next category.
Family hauler.
Oh, gosh.
This is my deepest list. I had a lot of indecisiveness with this one because it was really tough. But I've settled on Volvo V70R 6-speed.
Wow.
In blue.
Okay. Talk to us about that choice.
I love the profile of that era of Volvo. It's like, for me, when I started to actually even sort of notice them before that.
This is Spaceball shifter car?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This is something that I've only seen a few of them around, but I think that they would be a perfect city family hauler. The only downside, no third row. And that was sort of what I wanted to have as a minimum for my family hauler, and thus I was going fishing.
I thought you were going to go E320 WAG for sure, or is it 350 by this point?
The 320, I'm not sure, but I was looking at E55.
Oh yeah,
WAG. Yeah. You could get a third row in those ones. Those unfortunately then disappear. But
is that supercharged V8 or NA still?
I think it's an NA, but like the 6.3, like you said before, like the E63 comes out, like it's just such a better one. Comes out so
There's
soon after this.
There's multiple motors in each Mercedes body style.
Correct.
Then, as I recall.
And just like with all those Germans, they introduce a new motor, but not a new body style. Right. And then 3 years later, they update the body style, but not the motor.
Carry over the motor. Yep.
There's all this like weird middle ground eras. But yeah, W211 would be a good one too.
So you want S60 or V70?
V70.
V70.
Yes.
WAG.
V70R WAG.
I like S60s though too.
Yeah,
with the 6-speed. And I'm assuming you want that blue with the blue
Correct,
over tan, or that like yellow, almost orange interior.
No, I want the blue. I want the blue that almost mimics the touring car version.
Gotcha. Good choice, Randy.
V10 M5. Done. Manual transmission was offered in that car. I think that was maybe the more rare choice. I'm not sure. I'm looking at our results. We have sold a lot of 06 M5s. It's sort of astonishing.
And they're not that expensive.
And there's like a cream puff white black interior V10 M5. I was really upset about the headlights on that car when it was released, and everybody said the Dame Edna headlights and blah blah. I had you know what we're talking about?
I've never heard that. I always call them cat eye because they look like those cat eye glasses.
Well, Google who I just said, and you'll see what's going on. that car came out while I was at BMW. It was controversial. The V10 was controversial. The transmission was controversial. It did have iDrive. It had some issues. I couldn't get that car as a company car, so I got a 530 Sport in black, tan, 6-speed. I had that car a couple years before that in 2004, and I loved that car. One of my best BMW experiences. So anyway, I like that car. I know that's a controversial pick, but hauling your family around in huge, so that was peak displacement, right? Before the turbo showed up, you just went bigger. They went V10 in the M5, which is sort of absurd.
Never going to happen again.
Yeah. And I don't, again, more titanium. Most of them are silver and they look good, but they're a little boring. I think some of the other colors are a little bit more rare and interesting. And that's what I would haul the fam in.
Is that the iDrive that on Top Gear, Richard Hammond has to select 500 horsepower? Like it actually is set at 400 and he has to go through like a sub menu
that's interesting.
to actually.
It's got to be. That's the only
self-select.
No, I don't remember.
Honestly. Oh, there was also because that same powertrain that was when the 6 Series had been re-released. So there's also that V10, same thing. I don't know if you get those in a stick, but that V10 was also
got a ticket in an M6 with that V8 going down Ocean Avenue right by your guys' houses. Now I rolled a stop going down on the way to go to some BMW dealer somewhere, and I remember vividly driving an M6 with that engine in it and the bad transmission, whatever.
Yeah, they were SMG. They were SMGs.
SMG,
yes, that's right.
And so stopping was a pain in those because they would click, 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 click. So you just roll stops, and then SFPD motorcycle right behind me, right by Shanghai Dumpling King on Ocean in Glen Park neighborhood, and I got bagged, and that was a few $100.
Amazing. That in and of itself tells you how long ago this was, because now SFP, we were like, we salute you. Good luck.
You're a criminal. We salute you. Actually,
we're not interested in giving tickets.
Totally. Never, ever. Why would we do that?
Oh, man, that's great. Those are both really good picks. It leaves me with a tremendous number of options for myself, and I kind of don't know what to do.
This is the most Porsche-free lists we've had so far. I love it. It's feeling great.
Another thing that's
There's only one so far. Did I just jinx you?
No. Every single car so far is a 6-speed. Every single car that's been drafted by all three of us is a 6-speed. And that may continue, by the way. Like that trend may continue.
Did Volvo produce a 6-speed manual?
Yeah, it's the Spaceball, the one with no shift boot.
I thought they only liked odd numbers of everything.
It looks like the Citroen SM shifter. It's like a smooth thing. It's really weird. I presume it works okay. I don't know. I'm really tempted to pick one of the V-spec Cadillacs, but I'm actually going to go.
Ooh,
I know. I don't think anyone's going to pick this, so I don't think I'm blowing up.
Available.
Totally. No one picked that. Although I like those.
I do
too. But why wouldn't you just get a C6 Z06?
Yeah.
There's the STS V-spec, that's the mid-size. That's a weirdo car. When was the last time you saw one of those? Let alone a V-spec one, which is a supercharged North Star. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to follow my heart and stick with manual transmissions. I'm going to do STi WRX manual transmission.
What was the 06? What did those
Second
look
to
like?
last
Is that the
year.
hatch? That's the hatch.
No,
clear
they're
taillight hatch.
Sedans.
Oh, that's still sedan?
It's still the original WRX that came here, but it's the updated headlight version.
It's not the full Buckeye. It's the one after that.
It's actually there were 3 different headlights, if you remember. I think they call them Eagle Eyes.
That's a good car. That's a good car. We sold one in April of this year that was in awesome shape, and it sold for $29,000.
Yeah. And they're kind of an icon. And like, I remember riding in them back in the day, and they probably don't feel that fast now, but back then 300 horsepower felt like crazy. This is our first turbocharged car. So at least we got that, but we're still sticking with 6 speeds. So yeah, that's my choice.
I remember when those came out. This one here has the BBS branded.
Oh, those are so good.
8-spoke wheels.
Yes.
They look like kind of ProDrive, but they're actually BBS branded.
Yes.
I remember when that car came out because the bug eye headlights were crazy, and then it was big news in the reviews and press and stuff when they finally eliminated the bug eye look and went with this. This was a cool car. Very cool car.
There's actually 3 different headlights. These are not my favorite. The second generation headlights are my favorite.
Everybody liked. Yeah.
And then these are, I think they call these Eagle Eyes. They redid them again. So there's 3 different headlight front end treatments on that first WRX.
And the grille may be better on the second gen too.
Correct.
Right.
But these are still really sick. And the gold, the exterior color matters less. White, blue, I like all those, but gold wheels is a must. That's a must have. I think that would be really fun. That could also arguably be a really good daily. But it has 4 doors. It's a legitimate car that I could carry my family around in. So
that's the classic choice for someone who's now had a kid. You can't have the coupe anymore. This is what you move into.
Yes.
It's a fun driver.
Yes.
So you can afford.
I won't blow it up till I get this car for my daily, but my daily is, well, I won't say anything. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Beck. Next category. We're coming around the horn again.
All right. Daily driver. My daily driver. I don't think I'm going to be stealing one from Randy here, but you might be surprised by it.
Please don't steal it because I got a good one.
BMW Z4 M Coupe.
Take it. Run with it. I love it.
That was on my long list.
Car.
Yeah,
I like
I like that car a lot.
Shout out Robert Lindsay.
Yes. I mean, we've sort of been beating around the bush of the E46 M3. Best attribute, the motor. But I think it looks fantastic.
Yes.
I think it's kind of defies what was sort of the Bengal concerns of that time.
Best Bengal design, I think.
Yeah. The rear end taillights are just phenomenal. I think it's actually one of the best rear ends of the BMW that era for a while after that. And I love them. And I think you could totally daily driver it. You've got two little, seats in the back, right? There's two seats.
No, it's two seats.
No, two-seater and a Z4.
Okay.
It's got a big like strut bar where the
That's
top
right.
would have gone in.
It's 240Z. The car is a 240Z.
It's
There's no back seat.
totally like a 240Z when you're in it. Did you ever drive Roberts? Did you? You must have drove those.
I drove those
corporate
back in the
cars.
day,
Yeah.
but yeah.
They're like, it's like the 240Z where you feel like you're in between the back wheels and it's just all hood. And you can feel that
So it looks like
motor out in front of
you're
you.
sitting so far back.
It feels like the car is attached to the back of that motor. Yeah, great choice. And kind of, I feel like slept on in the day. Like I don't remember being excited about those till many years after they were out. Like the Z4 Roadster got plenty of attention, but I think because the clown shoe Z3 loomed so large, they were like, oh, it wasn't a shooting brake anymore. It was a fastback. Although I actually think the Z4 fastback looks better than the shooting brake.
I don't know
that's
what
a controversial opinion.
I don't know what the productions were versus the E46 just sedan coupe. I mean, for the M3, but I don't feel like I see them often at all, and I think they did a great job with it.
What you call a shooting brake?
The Z3 coupe,
Clown shoe.
it's clown shoe, is
Gotcha.
like a shooting brake, and then the Z4 is like a fastback, which
Yes,
I think
correct.
is so. To your point, the back rear three
At
quarters.
the
of the
time,
car.
we were like, they fixed it. They
Yeah,
solved
totally.
it.
Mhm.
I'm now a little bit more into the early quirky weirdo one.
Oh,
but
interesting.
I kind of like those back then. But the Z4, when it came out, everybody was like, it's beautiful instead of it's quirky. It wasn't a quirky car. It was a fast, awesome, cool looking car. I really like that car.
And they've got it has the double bubble roof, I think, a little bit too,
Little
doesn't
bit.
it? Yeah.
It has a groove down the center of the
right,
roof. So
right.
you get a little bit of that.
Yeah. Cool. Great choice. All right, Randy. Hopefully that wasn't your choice.
Not even close. I love that you picked that. I like that car a lot. I am 6-speed swapped Aston Vanquish. Are you kidding? I mean, what a great daily car. That car was made from 02 to 07. Bond, it was aging by then.
And were they coming out of the factory with that 6-speed in there?
But
Yes,
you
it
get
did.
them.
It did.
Did you, or you had
Really?
to send them back to the factory?
It came with the gearbox. It's like the SMG BMW. It's the same gearbox.
Sure.
You just have to switch the shifting mechanism to make it a manual. With
I'd maybe even consider it as my choice with the bad gearbox in it. That car, I mean, it came out in the Bond movie in 2002. And I still see him pop up on BAT, and I was like, should I get one of those? Like, I think they're so cool. I love the proportions on that car. I think it's super killer. So anyway, that car, we listed one way back in the day, which was pretty remarkable that we had a 6-speed swap. I'm trying to find if we've listed other 6-speed swaps. I think we haven't in an 06. We listed an 11,000 mile 06 with a Vanquish S with a 6-speed swap in 2017, a million years ago, for 132.5.
This was one of those first cars where people were doing that a lot, though, where they were like,
After the fact, though,
Yes.
right? Like
No,
when
after
all
the
this
fact.
stuff came out, the V10 M5, all these things came out with these mechanized gearboxes. Everybody's like, oh, the future, this is going to be awesome. And then 2 years later, they're like, can we swap all of these away?
the first Volkswagen GTI with a dual clutch came out. And they're like, F the single clutches. And then the torches got lit.
the duals were necessary. But anyway, this car, I'm totally into this
They're
car.
gorgeous.
I think those cars look super cool.
I remember when I forget which Bond movie that is, but I think it was the first time that Aston Martin came back
Oh, man, that's
to
great.
the
Great color on that one, too.
to the Bond movies. Before that, it had actually been BMW for a while.
Mhm.
And so when that Aston Martin came back, I remember like an actual reaction in the theater of just like joy.
People were
and
just so
elation.
excited to have it. And I think that movie, they also trotted out like they do every
DB5
couple of
trotted
years.
out.
They always trot out the
Yes.
DB5.
Yep, as they do.
Aston keeps that close to Albert Broccoli Productions. Ready to trot.
Any reference to Albert Broccoli makes me happy. Well done. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a really, really good one.
Crazy early listing. Lot 5854 in 2017. Man, it's a 4-digit lot number.
Manual
Wow.
swap.
The manual swapped
Amazing.
one. I think we've done other manual swaps.
We've had quite a few. There's a lot of manual swaps in 06 in general because of these crappy single.
Sure.
So like a
All the
lot of the
Ferraris.
Ferraris are swapped, and Aston does it. And I'm trying to.
BMWs.
People do it with the BMWs, right?
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of SMGs in those, and it's the same thing where. Correct me if I'm wrong. You leave. It's the gearbox is actually the same.
It's just a
the
pump.
It's the shifting mechanism that you change.
You basically just have a pump that's running off of what would be the clutch master,
Right.
and you're just essentially.
But you have to add a
automating.
clutch pedal, and like it gets complicated because of
Yeah, pedal
electronics, and probably the gauges are different because you don't have a gear selector anymore, right?
I believe there's ECU swaps
Yeah.
are often part of it as well, because otherwise the computer is confused as to what
Totally.
gear it's in.
Totally. But then you're not having to roll stop signs anymore.
That's right. You had to do it. It was required.
It was required.
That
Great
excuse,
choice.
So obviously that excuse did not work.
Didn't work even close. Driving some young guy driving some fancy BMW, like run up the rates on that guy.
Pulled out the aviators, eye contact.
Motorcycle
As the
cop,
ticket
he's
marks
not letting.
My dad
you
got a
off.
same ticket actually in my car back in like 92, 93 or whatever like that in
In
the
your
Richmond
SC?
district in my SC.
Interesting.
Rolling a stop sign because he
Yep.
didn't want to have to shift down into
Didn't
first.
want to have to do it. Tough.
Man, that makes me rethink some of the choices I've made. Like, because we had a E46 wagon that somebody had M3 swapped. They basically made an M3
Yeah,
wagon.
So
Yeah,
what are the rules here? We're just making up cars? Is that what we're
No,
doing?
That's a real car.
on the site.
So we're not saying this is what you could have shopped for in 06.
No.
It's finding a
06
car that
cars.
happens to have the model year of
Well,
06.
I don't know.
You could have done that in period.
Remaster.
I don't
Atlas,
know.
what is it?
I don't know. I mean, like
you could have had that car in period
you
if you
could have
had the
done that in
guts to
period.
make the
We
swap.
had
Nobody
a-
did.
Sure, but we're not playing off of what came off factory floors.
Not
Or is it-
strictly. Why
Not
would we be that strict?
no, because you could say you want certain mods on a car, or a certain
Sure.
engine in a car, or whatever.
I mean, if we do 1965 and you pick some weirdo Barrett Jackson resto mod
That still
coyote
counts.
blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah, you could do that. It's
Yeah.
a terrible decision, but
Sure.
you
I
could
mean,
do
we've
that.
argued this before, whether or not it has to be like in stock form. And also, like, to me, the biggest concern is like, are you talking about you are yourself in 2006
Correct.
at the
Or
age
you're
you are
shopping
now,
now.
or am I 23-year-old me back
I think
then?
it's the catalog of 06 built vehicles. Like, yeah,
Yeah, totally.
all of them.
I'm
I want these now. I
Yeah.
wanted them then, and I thought that would have been cool. But I want these, like, if we had to pick a garage downstairs, justification
Yes.
for higher education garage poster. You know the poster,
Yes.
right? Like, if they all have to be 06, like, what do you pick in there? And that's this list, right? It's awesome.
It does open up a lot of the site as well because of the fact that so many of these
Totally.
things have been
Modded stuff.
I also can't
Totally.
help being presentist because like this is what I'm into right now as I sit in this room with you guys,
Mhm.
right? Like it might like I probably wouldn't choose a black F430 any other time than right now because I'm excited and I saw one, right? Like I would probably choose something different. That's why I lose these every time back. All right. Thank you for all the vamping. I'm going to do my daily. It's another struggle, but I'm going to follow my heart yet again. I'm going to do AP2 S2000. This is a car
Yeah, so good.
that I had an AP1, but this is, I think, the first time I've ever drafted a car that I owned. And I put 120,000 miles on that car and I freaking loved it. And I actually do like the AP1 with 9,000 RPM better, but AP2 is just fine by me. And 06 is a really good year for these cars.
Is
And-
CR available this year?
no, 07 is the first year of CR.
Would you get a CR? It
No.
offered it. You wouldn't. Neither would I.
Well, I would if we didn't have to adhere to Beck's strict rules, and I could take the
You would
ugly
forward
ass
date your
wing
06.
and shin spoiler off it,
Which
which
you
looks
can.
so awful.
Which
on
you
that
can.
car. Yeah, totally. But
Take it off.
I like everything else about the CR. The interior and all the other tweaks. But and that arrow is all functional, but I just find it so ugly. And one of the main reasons I love the S2000 is I find it so aesthetically pleasing.
Mhm.
It's such a clean, pretty design. I would have to have a hard top. Probably white would be the color for me, like Zach's old car, white.
The tachometer on that car alone is
Fantastic.
one of the reasons to have it.
They're so good. Have you driven one?
Never
You'd
had.
have a hard time fitting, I think, but you could drive one around a little bit. But man, they're fantastic. And I did daily drive one, so can recommend. Easy peasy.
Awesome.
All right, where are we going next, buddy? We going trucks?
Trucks, 4x4 pickup. This is really tough.
Just to be clear, still 100% 6-speed. Every car that's been selected.
Oh,
is
truck
6-speed.
changes that. It's over.
That's- yeah.
That dream's over.
Maybe.
Me. Okay. Beck, what do you got? Are you a truck guy, Beck?
Um,
You drive a 4-wheel drive to the
I drive
office almost every day. Not anymore,
no.
I guess. But
The Xterra I used to.
did.
Yes, I used to daily the Xterra. I like him. I wasn't raised around him, living in the city, and so I'm going to go kind of polar opposite of what you might expect, because I think this is pretty amazing that it was made in its time, and I can't imagine being made again. Dodge Ram SRT 10.
Oh, great.
I'm looking at one of those right now on the site.
That was
I
on
see
my
it.
list.
Awesome.
Great choice.
Yeah, you could retain the 6-speed dream if you'd like.
Yes,
I think they offered both, didn't they?
Yeah,
they
they've
definitely have a
definitely
6-speed though.
right?
No, there's definitely. See, he really doesn't.
Look, I just found one.
No,
That's a 6-speed.
No, that's what you would take, right?
Question,
That's what
yes. And do you do 2-door or 4-door?
This is your
They
I'm
look
deal.
better. They look better in a short
Call the
cab.
ball.
You would go.
I would do quad cab.
Okay, quad cab.
Okay.
I think they look really good. as
The
a short
idea to have, your whole family in there experiencing that motor, that
Mayhem.
Viper motor, is just part of the joy of it, I think.
I love those.
The question, are the rest of us allowed to pick the 2-door? No,
No,
I'm kidding.
that's
Okay.
too much.
Okay, that's
But
too
I
close.
do-
He
I-
calls his SRT10.
It's a good. I like all the sport trucks. I like the Lightning. I even like the little
Cyclone.
the Extreme. Like everything that was an attempt at doing a sporty pickup truck, I'm in favor of. What's something has a? Is this the one with the wing? One of these has a wing across the bed, which
It has a
really,
tiny little
but it goes
3-inch
across the top, right? Which really kind of
I
reduces
think
the
it might.
practicality as a truck.
But I would get
great
it in
choice.
Viper colors, like blue with white stripes as well.
Oh, they definitely came
man, there's
striped
a
up.
black one though with short wheelbase black one that we sold in
Short wheelbase
24.
looks so good.
Ooh, look at that thing.
Awesome. All right, Randy, here you go. Trucks.
I've been surfing the truck category. I'm mostly excited. 06 was maybe a little bit of a trough in enthusiasm
It's
for
tough.
trucks.
It's
There's
actually
a lot of SUVs on the road. Man, we sold
Yeah.
a lot of Jeep Wranglers. Man,
Tons of Jeep
Lots
Wranglers.
of
That
Rovers, lots
category?
of ranges.
a lot of Ranges and a lot of Wranglers and a lot of Cayennes, right? Those are out there. You can see I'm tap dancing a little bit before I make
That's
my
okay.
selection.
Take your time.
But I am.
There's no. If you want me to go first, I can. There's no chance we're going to overlap. I don't think.
Oh well, now you have me curious. You go.
Yeah, okay.
I'll go right after you. I've got my choice, but now you've given me the option to have you show your cards
Yes,
first.
I'll show my cards. I'm happy to show 'em. If I take yours, I would be shocked.
No,
but
you
you know
won't.
that's
You
your
won't.
choice. I'm going to take an Escalade EX.
I saw
That was
that
on my
here.
list as
I
well.
saw that here.
EXT.
That is a choice.
That's another. I actually
You're
thought
taking that by choice. Did someone put a gun to your head, or you're taking that by choice?
my slow buddies. We were talking EXTs yesterday or 2 days ago.
But Avalanche versus EXT, you love EXT.
I'm like pro Escalade, any era, any kind. I love them.
First gen is tough.
Dude. I like them all, honestly, dude. I have to be real with you. I like all Escalades because I like all Chevy trucks pretty much. When you said this is something they would never make now, I was like, oh no, he's not going to take EXT, is he?
They didn't make a V-spec of that, did they?
No, there is a Cadillac Escalade
Currently,
V
yes.
now, but no, not back then. But this is, and they came in that green, like emerald green color. We've had a couple low mileage examples of them in that color.
How many EXT truck beds do you think have never been touched?
Most.
Most.
What's
Not
the
much of
overlap on Lincoln Blackwood beds versus EXT?
Is that I was scrolling and Lincoln Blackwood's come up. I was like, oh gosh, is somebody gonna choose that? I hope nobody chooses that.
So I'm pretty sure I didn't steal yours there, Randy.
You absolutely didn't.
Also, I can be the first one to not pick a 6-speed manual. That's the first non-6-speed manual for the whole draft so far.
Interesting. So I'm going to pick a weird one that's going to make sure that I lose the Instagram competition, which is, there's a couple interesting ones. First of all, we were talking about BMWs. The X5 4.8 IS is
Yes.
an unusual vehicle, which is
I
pretty
like
cool.
those.
But if you've already chosen the E60 M5, it's like the same car in a different form
I
factor.
bet Bros had both of those in the regular the BMW
I
dealership.
can't handle if there's one garage and you walk into and it has both of those. I think that's like upsetting. and
He
weird.
just rubs it with a diaper.
Yeah, that's weird. So I'm going super weird deep cut that nobody's going to understand. So there was no Jeep pickup at that point. You have to transport yourself to 06. That product was 10 or 15 years away. I mean, that product was like late. When did they introduce the Gladiator? 2018.
way
Like,
later.
Way later. But
was there even a 4-door Wrangler back then?
AEV. I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
But there was AEV, who was an awesome company. I say was. I think they've been acquired by Chrysler or something. Like they're at dealers now. But they made the pickup conversion. Before it was cool, they made the Scrambler Jeep conversion by custom making the bed and the body. A buddy of mine has one of these. I love these. They made 2 and 4-door. This is a 2-door. This is lot number 165853. This sold in November of 24. Those things are awesome, and they were super built for off-road, and the suspension was AEV was the best Jeep modifier at that point, in my opinion, and they made these into pickups. And that is what I would pick.
That is extremely. That one is also great color. Is that stock? They didn't put V8s in them. It's still stock.
They would swap engines, but often they didn't back then.
So V6.
Did those have a straight 6 still? I don't remember V6.
I think they're V6 by then. I'm not 100% sure.
Does our writer tell us?
Oh, they've got to. They will.
4-liter inline. So
still inline.
I don't know if those Jeeps have ever had a V6 until way more recent.
Interesting.
So anyway, the Gladiators and stuff have a V6.
Six-speed? Or
this one has a 6-speed.
Oh, man. All right. Keeping it alive.
So anyway, I like that vehicle a lot.
I think that's extremely
I wanted one of those badly back then.
That's also probably one of those things where I always find this interesting, where you take kind of a normal car and spend like supercar prices on it to get it where you want.
Yeah, I bet these were expensive, right?
Sure.
All custom. I forget if they're in Michigan. I think AV may be in Michigan. That's why they're kind of tied in with the OEMs up there. But anyway, super cool. They still make cool stuff, but the brutes of old were, now I think they still make it, and it's like, why don't I just go buy a Gladiator? But back then it was really something different.
It's an extremely good pick. All right. Everything but my EXT is a 6-speed still. And almost no turbos, I think. My STI is and the Volvo's a turbo. So 2 turbos.
That's true.
But this is, again, like all NA, all 6-speed, pretty much. Wild. All right. Speaking of wild cards. That was an unintentional segue. Beck.
This is hard.
This is hard. I don't have this selected
I have so
yet.
many good honorable mentions
I'm
left.
so rolling.
I have like a ton of interesting stuff left. So I haven't picked a Porsche yet. I was very tempted to do Cayenne Turbo S for truck. That would have been interesting.
Could be good.
All right, for wild card, I mean, I'm basically making the decision at this very moment because I can't. I'm just so split up. But I'm just going to go with the most extreme wild one on my list here, which is going to be a Saleen S7.
Oh, great!
Wow, was that made at that point?
They still made them for a couple of years after this, and you could send them. This is the first year of the twin turbo competition. We've sold earlier model years of competitions because, similar to Aston Martin, you could send them back.
You upgrade them constantly.
Correct,
Yeah.
We've sold 2 or 3 on the site. We had one through White Glove a couple of years ago when I sort of went on a deep dive. Another fun thing for Wildcard, I feel like, was to go to look at what was raced at Le Mans that year.
That's the page I'm on right now. That is the page I am on.
And then go through the street car variant of those. Panos Esperante was another one that was like, it's like the 612 kind of looks like a weird fish at the bottom of the ocean.
So. They're cool, and it's not something you want in your.
Amazing that they were raced at Le Mans, but other than that, Saleen S7 twin turbo competition for 2006.
Okay, I got you. They were twin. I have a hard time charting the history of those things. They were NA to start with, though, right?
Yeah, okay. And then twin turbo versions, and then competition, and then later there was an LM variant,
right? Which a lot of them got upgraded to that spec. Yep. That's right. Okay, gotcha. Fantastic. Really, really good. All right, Randy, you made a selection yet? Or no?
So good. I'm looking through ALMS Laguna Seca 2006 pictures right now.
Man, hit us with some of the cars.
There's some good stuff. Let's look at it together. I mean, the Audi TDIs were running.
That's right. The diesel.
And then
DB9R.
DB9R. And then F430 Challenge or whatever,
I know. I
whatever those are
but
called.
I already took an F430. Those
Porsche
cars
RS Spider, the DHL car.
Those are awesome.
Those are pretty cool. Those are trading in the private market right now.
Be on my long list for wild card.
Just some whatever GT3, GT2Rs, some Corvette race cars,
C6R,
different C6R. Well done, Beck. Something like that. There's your Panos in the background.
C6R is really good.
Also on my wild card list.
That's a really.
Didn't
really
Bruce Meyer have one of those in his? Was that a C6R or was that a different car?
No, it was a C6R.
It was a
I'm almost positive
factory race
because the C5R was kind of a turd. It didn't win, and the C6R is when they started dominating, and then C7R, same thing. I'm pretty
weirdly at Le Mans in 06, just because I recently looked it up, there was a C5R still being raced at it, but C6R did substantially better.
I went to American Le Mans Series at Laguna Seca in '99, and there was a C5R, and it was slower than the 993 GT. Like it was like the class lower were faster than that car, and it was supposed to be racing against those. Remember those Vipers that were so dominant? They were kind of in the mid-tier class.
Are Vipers still running at that point? I'm not seeing any Vipers in these pictures.
No, but there's street Vipers, which I thought about. There's the second gen, kind of the unloved second gen Vipers, 2006. Yes. But they were coupes and convertibles. Remember that? They weren't Targas anymore or whatever.
You get real glass windows and everything.
Yep, correct.
I mean, I picked before you, Alex, so I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry in advance.
Go ahead.
But nobody has chosen an E46 product. And for wild card, it has to be. It has to be the race car. It has to be the ALMS race car. I would do either the white and blue livery or the Yokohama livery. Those are V8 powered, I believe. Actually, that body, they put both.
What's it called? It's called GT. What's the name of it?
GTR.
GTR. Okay.
They did both 6-cylinder and V8 versions, I think, for different classes and different, or maybe that was over different years. I'm not sure exactly what 06 was. There'll be some E46 experts that can correct us in the comments, but those cars were cool. I also saw those cars race at Laguna, and you got to have an E46 M3. And if it's 2006 and you don't have one of those, like, what are we doing? Somebody's got to grab.
Is the V8 out of the X5?
The V8.
So it's not out of the M5.
I don't know what the basis was. Was it just the 4.4? It's an S engine. It's not a M engine. But what would it have been in?
I think it would have been the X5.
E39 M5 motor, like wound up.
Could have been carryover from E39.
I mean, they weren't doing turbo stuff.
S62.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was.
It is out of something. I was looking at the page earlier, and it's out of something. It's an S60, maybe. I can't remember exactly what it is.
I'm looking at the one right now, number 21, GT2 class, Yokohama Ad Van, performance friction brakes, BMW Financial Services, all the stuff, right? I mean, it's great. Right. And we've seen, actually, we got to go to the site and figure out, because I tracked the sale of a few of these in the early days. We've never BAT auctioned one, but
the liveries on those are really good. There's like the one you just showed us is a really, really good livery.
I forget what the other one was for a bank or something, though, the white and blue one. Actually, no, I have no M3 GTR coming up on BAT, so who knows whether we covered it or not. Anyway, that's my choice. Race car, wild card should be for race car often.
Yes,
agreed. In my opinion.
Or something really maniacal.
And that thing is super cool. There's my choice.
That's really, really good. Presumably, that is got to be a sequential, because race cars are all sequentials. But the Saleen is still a clutch manual transmission, or is it a automatic?
I think it's automatic.
Okay.
Semi-automatic.
What was your choice? Was race car or street car?
I would do street car.
Awesome.
Okay. I thought about doing something basic here that may help me in the standings, but instead I'm going to follow my heart. This is the car I've thought about the most since I started doing research. I'm going to pick for 2006 a Smart Roadster Brabus.
I saw that car come up on BAT, and I
liked these in period, and I still really like them. Smart cars do nothing for me, but the Smart Roadster is a very different program. I saw one recently somewhere. They're tiny. They kind of remind me of like little Berkeleys and stuff. The stuff in the 60s that were almost like cycle cars. You know these?
Definitely.
Okay. So this one...
We've only ever listed one of them, and it was in 2016 as here at Wim Prins in Nunspreet, Netherlands for 17,000 euros.
I think
it's a deep cut.
So good looking. And the Brabus motor takes it from like 40 horse to like 100. It's a 3-cylinder, like 650cc. And
Mercedes-Benz power.
Correct. But then I just learned about it from our listing. There's a twin turbo version, which has 170 horsepower in that little tiny thing. A Brabus twin turbo 3-cylinder, 700cc or 650cc, whatever it is. I've always thought they were really cool looking. There's nothing else like them. It's like an AutoZam or something. It's like a toy kind of, but man, I think they're really cool.
My British brother-in-law has been talking about Smart Roadsters ever since he moved here.
Really?
It's kind of a forgotten car, I feel like, right? Like when was the last time you had a
here
smart...
Even knows
I know.
Right?
When was the last time you had a Smart Roadster conversation? This is probably the first one you've had. Anyway, that's my choice. It's weird, cements my loss, but I think it's really, really cool. Has to be Brabus twin turbo. Top
comment on that car from 2020. So 4 years after the story, that's interesting dynamic. Some dude named Skyflyer56 said, I tried to buy both the legal Roadsters in the US. One was sold by Beverly Hills Motor Cars, but was on show and display title with limited driving able. The other was titled as a 78 Mercedes Roadster.
Oh, no.
Both seemed too risky, so I passed. One now lives in the Seattle area, and the other is in the Southwest somewhere. So that's 5-year-old info.
Amazing.
Telephone game info. Who knows if that's true, right?
Maybe we'll see one in Arizona
But
this weekend, right?
Somebody,
There's
if
one in
you're out there
Scottsdale.
and you're bringing it to Scottsdale, you get the best parking space. If you bring a Smart Roadster to Auto Car Club in Scottsdale this Saturday, I will be there and will guide you to the front of the line.
Oh, man.
And Alex will have a check for you.
And all the guys with the GT3 RSs will stomp their feet and be so
Totally.
mad that a Smart Roadster is more
It
interesting.
takes up so little room. It's
Yeah, it's
no
perfect.
problem. Right
Yeah.
under the tent. Slight tease that I forgot to give you. Somebody allegedly bringing a Group B 308 rally car.
You'll be okay with that.
I will be
that's going to
comfortable with that.
occupy the best parking
That
spot.
will be directly in front of the tent with me just standing
licking
near
the
it.
glass. That car will be front and center until the Smart Roadster shows up. Then I am personally going to ask the 308 owner to fire it up and move
Please.
to position 2
Yeah,
so the Smart
totally.
Roadster can pull in.
Amazing.
I love that because I searched 2006 broadly on the site to try to find what to talk about today. And that car, I was like, whoa, what is that thing?
Yeah.
I didn't know we featured one of those, but it wasn't in the US.
It's just another car that I've always been fascinated with. And yeah, I just loved it. And, wild card is for some weirdo stuff. So there you go. All right, let me recap and then we can do honorable mentions. We really got into it today, boys. Thank you. You brought it. You brought your A game. All right, Beck for sports car, Carrera GT, 6-speed. They're all 6 speeds, but it has a 6-speed. Family, V70R, 6-speed. Daily driver, Z4 M Coupe, also a 6-speed. Truck, Ram SRT 10, also a 6-speed. Wild card, Saleen S7, and we think that that's I think that's a 6-speed manual, dude. I think you're all 6-speed manual.
Let me look it up.
Randy, sports car, Ford GT non-heritage, amazing. Family hauler V10 M5 E60. I looked up the gal with the glasses. That's exactly what I was thinking of. That's what I see. Dame Edna, 6-speed on that as well. Daily driver for Randy is an Aston Martin Vanquish 6-speed swap. Truck is an AEV Wrangler truck swap. They're called Brute, right? Yeah, Brute.
AEV Brute.
Yeah, also with a 6-speed. And then wild card, which is really good, E46 M3 race car, the GTR. For me, sports car, F430 Coupe with a stick, gated. Family hauler, WRX STi, 6-speed. Daily driver, AP2 S2000 with a hardtop. Those are all 6 speeds. Truck, Escalade EXT in green. That could also be family hauler. That's actually maybe my best pick. I just want to say that. Wild card for me is a Brabus Smart Roadster bi-turbo. There we are. How do we feel?
I actually think it was rich in
I agree.
opportunity.
I agree.
I mean, I was like, 6, what the heck are we going to choose? Almost all of those are super awesome.
I know.
Right?
I would actually be happy with either of your guys' garages. Totally. Right? Like those are amazing.
And I think you bringing up the whole 6-speed continuity was a surprise to me. I didn't actually really track that while I was putting it together, but you are correct. Saleen S7 is a 6-speed.
Yep.
And that's right. We're coming off of 5 speeds, 6 speeds, and then no speeds.
Yeah, correct.
And that's, I think, what's important about those mid-aughts.
Almost everything is normally aspirated too.
But that's
All
still
right,
considered the fastest option is the 6-speed.
totally.
Hold on. How many? Is there one Porsche
Carrera GT
out
is
of
the only one.
15 cars?
There's no GT3 yet.
I'm at a podcast with Beck and Alex, and one
I
out
know.
of 15 was a Porsche. That's like some sort of miracle.
I wrote down Cayman as a daily driver, and I wrote down 997 C2, just Carrera,
Cool car.
as like a daily driver or a sports car. But like you said before we started recording, you're like, not a great time for Porsche.
Mhm.
My backup for daily driver was a Cayman S
Yep.
first year, and then backup for wild card was a Roof
Oh, what's roof that year?
RT12,
Mm,
which
Just
was
the
a
turbo.
That's the infills because there is no GT3 option.
Oh, that's
in that
right.
sense.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
what car is that?
It's a 997 based.
997 roof turbo. Because
I'll
they
pull it
didn't have a turbo yet. Okay.
Couple
It could be worse.
honorable mentions. This is an amazing car. No one chose it. I understand why, but C6 Z06.
That's a great
7-liter.
car.
Fantastic.
Those are great. I probably should have picked. I mean, the M3 GTR race car is near and dear, but the Vet race car is
I know.
probably a better car and probably one more.
They're so good looking. Oh man, I like them a lot.
CompuServe
Always love them.
livery.
Gallardo 6-speed.
I saw Gallardo.
Those gated manual.
When those came out, I thought
Yes.
those were cool.
I still like them a lot. R32 Mark V R32 Golf with a
That was
6-speed. That's
on
an
my daily
interesting
driver
car.
as well.
You mentioned Saab was still around. On my kind of long list for family hauler, 9.3 Aero, the Sport Combi, the Wagon 9.3 Aero. Those are a 6-speed. There's also the WRX Saab that year, the 9.2. Is that what it's called? It's a WRX
Those are
wagon.
dogs, dude. Subaru. They called them a Subaru.
Subaru, that's right.
Those are dreadful.
But they're WRX engine. I think it's just
yeah,
WRX
it's
engine.
fine.
You're
but like,
dreadful.
well, if you drive one, like you can't take yourself seriously.
Well,
Driving that, what do you drive? I don't know what I drive. It's maybe a Saab, it's maybe a Subi. But
it's a WAG, which I like. So
Yeah.
no STI WAG.
Those that seemed like a super stretch.
Our
Okay.
Subaru option for pickup, though.
I removed that from the honorable mention list.
Just do the Subaru.
Other Subaru for pickup option, Subaru Baja.
Oh,
I saw the Baja
Baja.
XL.
Would that count as truck 4x4? I guess it would.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on. It's like a brat
Yeah,
counts.
totally.
For sure.
Totally.
For sure that counts.
STS and CTSV. I just want to say it again. Like a lot of good
CTSV.
V and even the XLR, which I like, and the XLR
Most terrifying axle hop I have ever experienced. Is in the CTSV customer car at some service department. No. Inventory used car at some service department. Some service manager and I were going out to lunch. I was working at BMW. I was like, oh, let's take that. That looks awesome. He's like, you drive it. He kind of dumped the clutch a little bit and it was like, and I was like, oh my gosh, what I just killed your car. It's
Man.
terrifying.
Killed a customer's car? I hope not. Any other honorable mentions from you guys? I'll just repeat it again. We kind of mentioned it in passing, but the F430 challenge is extremely sick that year.
Mm-hmm.
Dodge Viper SRT 10 Coupe. So obviously not the pickup, obviously, but that one looks a lot like GTS, but I feel like you just sort of hold out for GTS.
I remember those were really, I got really excited when the second gen Viper came out because I thought it looked great. But then the third gen came out. It's really good looking. The last Viper.
I like all of those.
I like all of them.
I was showing you guys pictures. Technically, the 2007 Porsche GT3 997 came out
in 06.
Or was built in December. I don't know when they started selling them, but no, I saw my first one in December of 2006, and I love that car. I still love that car. That car is sort of restrained in its style compared to the modern ones. It's probably a moving chicane now at a track day compared to a 992 or whatever, but I still love that car. And yeah, I got to drive one of those December 5th. My photo app is telling me 2006. So that's technically in the year we're talking about, but it's a 2007 car. But
Speed Yellow, you showed us that picture. Incredible.
Speed Yellow, the cover car for Excellence Mag, driving around Sonoma.
With a helmet on, they're like, Randy, please hide your face.
Yeah, with a helmet on. Yeah, my face was not allowed to be on that. But if somebody goes and digs up, I bet it's like a March edition, maybe February, Excellence Magazine, 2007.
You're there with Pete Stout?
Pete was running the magazine at that time, and my buddy and I were called up with a 3 Series wagon to be the camera car in front of it. And Pete sat in the back of the wagon with the tailgate open, lapping. We did like 4 laps of Sonoma at sunup. We had to be there at 5 a.m. and set up for that and got some amazing photos that I still have on my phone, apparently. So anyway, that's a cool car. 997 GT3 is a great car, but we couldn't use it for this game.
We'll do 07. We'll get there sometime.
07, that would get my pick for sports car, probably.
We'll get there at some point. One of the things I worry about doing this is like in years that are close together, like everyone's going to want largely like S2000, C606. So you got to have some distance.
It's got to be a buffer.
Right. There's not many years where there's like a huge changeover in all the models, but
what's the minute? You got to go by like 4-year increments, right? I mean, if it's an adjacent year, like I'm picking most of the same.
Yeah, I've thought about this a little bit. Like if I had a different crew in here with very different tastes and we did it a year from now, like doing 07 maybe is not that big of a deal. Because like to your point, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't hit here.
Yeah.
Right? A lot more.
Is that an interesting show topic? Same year again, you can't pick any of these.
I think it is.
You have to go deeper than these.
I think it is. We've also flirted with, and you have teased multiple times, like doing all trucks or all BMWs or whatever. And I think that's interesting too.
Or like some of the car shows that are like no Porsches allowed.
Yeah, I love all those shows. Beck, where are those? Send me their information.
But that could be one of them because there's to your credit, there's some categories that are just like obvious what you kind of have to pick first, especially for a sports car, because that's sort of the space we live in. But it's also why I think honorable mentions is sometimes the best conversation of these games, because that's when you start to dig out the weird thing that you just
Totally.
couldn't sort of sink your teeth
If
into
you're Zach
entirely.
and you need to win, you can't pick it.
It's so pleasant playing this game when we're not going to get smoked by Zach.
Well,
You all it's like walking in knowing that you're playing whatever, Manchester United.
we're
You're
all
like,
competing for
we're
second
hosed.
place. We're
Totally.
competing for second place.
Totally. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
points for second place.
Yep, that's right. The plaque for the alternates. You know where to find that, little Randy. So anyway, any other parting shots, gentlemen? Anything else?
This is going out before this weekend.
It's not
it's
going
not. Okay, I was
to.
gonna say,
So
talking
we're
about
talking about
Arizona.
Arizona, which will be in the past
I
tense when
blew
this
that.
goes out.
I
No,
blew
it's
that.
okay.
Anyway, nice seeing you all in Arizona.
It was great. That Smart Roadster, that 308 were fantastic.
Is it the 308 that was on the site, the Greg Blue modified 308?
Oh, interesting. I bet Greg's got cars in Arizona. I don't know, but those cars are so fantastic.
This was it. This was the one that he sold.
I
Let me
mean,
see that. Let me see that.
Come on, baby. I need
Was
lights
that
on
on
mine,
BAT?
but-
Why didn't you buy that?
but I know.
This is the Martini liveried 308 that's been
That
modified to sort of be a
Alitalia one that
rally.
you showed me too,
Yes.
with coffin spokes.
But that's US on BAT.
It was in
was on
Hawaii on BAT.
That's our guy Greg Blue, who takes the
Bare feet,
flip-flops.
flip flop
Yeah,
photos
yeah.
driving around Group E cars. What lot number is that?
That is lot number 79743.
That was
We should
an
look
amazing
at that car. And Alex, we should make a wall poster. For
I think it had a
Alex on
3
that
point
car.
or had a 3.2 liter.
You
Right?
should
It
have
had a
bought
big
that
motor
car.
in it. I know. I
You
should have bought that car.
car.
I know. It was really good. All right, boys. Well, thank you. This was a biggie and fun, and we'll do more of these. And thanks to all of you for listening. We're excited to hear your feedback, what you liked, what your dream garage is for 2006. Thanks as always for listening, and we'll catch you next time.